So joining us on the podcast today is the highly distinctive tenor saxophonist Ned Goold, a master of inside-out playing. His unique sounds blends the cool, sharp articulation of Bird and Charlie Rouse with the breathy insistence of Lester Young and the subtle phraseology of Dizzy Gillespie. His system of harmonic improvisation, influenced by 20th century serial concepts, brings a fresh approach to swing and contemporary jazz. He's been a longtime member of Harry Connick Jr. band since the early 90s, performed with Ben Wolfe, Jack McDuff, and the legendary Haitian group Tabou Combo. In addition to his work as a sideman, he's released around 20 albums, including The Flows. This further showcases innovative approach to jazz improvisation. So we're excited to have him on the podcast. So welcome, Ned. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Yeah,
Thanks,
everything's good.
thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Ned, when I got in touch with you originally, I think you were maybe a little bit surprised about how I heard of you, but you know, you're certainly a name in the New York jazz scene. And
I mean, apparently,
do you get asked to do these type of things?
never, ever. I mean, not to sound like, as my son would say, butthurt, but I played a million gigs, and none of these people who acknowledge who I am have ever showed up, and nobody mentions my records and I mean, I'm not trying to. I mean, I guess I am a little bitter, but I just like, I don't see any evidence of it. So I'm always shocked when like everybody seems to know who I am, but I
You're
don't know.
not you're not the only one who said things like that to me.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's just normal these days, the way things are.
Yeah. I mean, and it also shows, that I think that once we release this, it will give a chance to, get people's unique perspective on yourself. So, there's a lot of mystery about being a jazz musician. So kind of walk me through, you know, the day to day and, your life as a tenor saxophonist in the jazz capital of the world.
Well, nowadays, I have right now I'm at my regular job. I've had it for about 15 years. I work at the Frick Museum. I just like, I mean, just a do nothing mailroom job, but it enables me to be able to cover my rent, so I don't have to freelance. I've always like, I'm just, I'm apparently, I use that word again, I'm like a bad side man, like I try my best and people, tell me they like it, but they never call me back. So I don't really I don't like playing other people's music, basically. I have a lot of my own music and that's what I like to do. So rather than my son, Charles
I
is
know
a
him. Yeah, I know Charles.
he works all the time, but he's a drummer but he has his own music and group, but his main thing is, but I've never done that. Even when I was his age, I never did that. I never have been, other than obviously Harry Connick, which is a whole nother story, but I never been a local freelance guy. So my life is just coming to work for the few hours that I do. And I play guitar now, so I just like, and I'm able to practice here at work. So I started like maybe 8 years ago, and I prefer like, I mean, I love blues, which is what I consider what I do anyway on saxophone. But you can't really play blues well in the real sense on saxophone. You have to be able to bend notes. So anyway, I picked up blues guitar. So I practiced that a lot because it was a new instrument. And actually, after all these years, you just get tired of yourself. At least I do on saxophone. So anyway,
No, no,
that's
but
what I practice my guitar. I've been practicing my horn again lately. I have regular gigs in New York, like once a month at this club that used to be Fat Cat that it's called Cellar Dog now.
Mhm.
And I play out at this place in Brooklyn called Ornithology twice a month. So it's nice, I do all my just play the hits, and that's all I do.
Well, Ned, I understand what you're saying. You don't want to play other people's music. You want to be a band leader, and that's
I mean,
totally
I don't mean that to sound nasty, but
no, 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 not at
obviously
all.
I do come off nasty, even though I try really, really hard not to. But I just come, it's like they just assume that I hate their shit, which is half the time I do. but not all the time, you know. So anyway, I have a reputation for that, so whatever.
I mean, I understand. I have a reputation also. I mean, I've always been a band leader, but you know, there's also the other side to it as well. Maybe people they say, "Oh, he's a band leader." You know what I mean? He doesn't need work.
Yeah, definitely.
They might just be assuming that
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, and it's true. Um, you
because
know,
even
I
you know
don't even
what
like, I don't
I'm
even like, I'm sorry, I don't even like playing. I mean, sometimes if I haven't done it for a while, playing just standards on a gig, which I'm pretty good at, I'll love it and go crazy. But if I have to do it for a while, I really, really start to hate myself doing it. You know, I mean, to the point where I just want to crawl in a hole, and it's so painful. All I do is look at my watch the whole gig. You know,
wow.
yeah.
I mean,
My thing has always been like coming up with my own system of music. I always play what I hate the least, as opposed to what I like the most. It's always been the way I am. You know, it's like, you know, just what makes me the least, you know, disgusted.
um, this is a very unique perspective. Now, the gigs you mentioned before that you like that you have those regular once a month gigs at
Yeah,
Cellar Dog and Ornithology.
right.
Okay. Now, you're not watching the clock on those gigs, are you?
Cellar Dog is rough. It's my own music, but Cellar Dog, you know, I get through it. I've learned it's a trio gig, first of all. So that means I'm playing a lot. And it's 7 to 11
Why not a quartet? The money?
because that's what they're paying me for. That's what they say, you know. And that was my thing for a long time.
Quartet.
No, trio.
Trio?
Like you, ah, sorry. You mentioned the flows. That was in my trio era was along, like you mentioned Ben Wolfe and the flows. That's 1999. So
25 years.
yeah, so I was in the trio then because I was writing music that was two parts. I wasn't writing music that was going over chords, it was going over lines. So it was two lines going, you know, what is it, horizontally as opposed to vertically. But the bass had chords, you know, the same way. So, but then I, you know, gradually started getting into it. And now trio just is like too much work, you know, it's like, plus I like having those chords under me because I've written a
I
lot
get
of
it.
music since then that are more standardish, you know, where the chords are important.
I get it, but like you said, because you're like, but you went down to the logistics. That's what they're paying me. You know,
That's what I'm told I have to play trio. A
you're
guy, but they pay okay. It's a good paying gig. I have to fill up 3 full hours in trio. And you know,
that would burn anybody out.
yeah, you know, I mean, I said to someone my age the other day, Winard Harper, you ever heard of him, drummer? Anyway,
Arthur, go by Arthur?
no, Winard and his
Oh,
brother
Bernard Harper.
Philip.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just outside ornithology, and I was complaining about it. And he looked at me. He's my age. He says, "Man, that's just a 4 hour gig." And I think, "Yeah, you're right, man." And, you know, when we were in the '80s, that was standard, you know. But nowadays, it's not. You
I used
know.
to do a 4 hour gig in New Brunswick, New Jersey,
Yeah.
trio, 4 hours,
Yeah.
and it was $100, you know?
Yeah. Typical.
And it got to a point where I'm like, between that and the parking, I'm like, I said no.
That's hard work. It's
Even you know,
playing
it gets
trio
to a
is
point.
hard.
Yeah.
Like by the time you get to the second 1 hour long set, you get to the end of that, it's perfect. That was great. But then you got a whole nother one in front of you, and
People don't know how to present music.
you just gotta plow through it, man. But you know, that place is it's like they're not even yeah, it's weird. It's just a hangover from the old place. So it's like a real corporate now, but it's basically the same. But it's you know, it's a nice little payday for my rent. I don't make a lot of money, so that makes a big difference at the end of the month, you know. So
But you know what though? You talked about that you're like, I work a regular job, and that way you can separate the art from the money.
big time.
And I
But
mean,
it's
I'm not, I'm, I
but
mean,
my
I'm,
job is part-time.
yeah.
I've always, you know, one other than the you know the Harry Connick times, which you know I was bringing up two kids and had a house and all that. So I don't have any of that money left, but it's just like I've always lived just sparely so I don't have to think about money that much and I can just practice and, think about my little
You
concept.
see, I would not think this. I would think that, oh, okay, like you when I say the day in the life, you're like, oh, well, I had like a wedding gig t last night, and then and then I, did some sort of private thing, and
That's
then,
somebody else. That's not me.
wow.
Ever. Never. I hate those wedding gigs.
Yeah, no one likes them, but sometimes we just got to
Yeah.
make some money.
Yeah, I know, and they pay well. My sons both do it. They're both musicians and they make good money. But they seem to like it, but you know, I I, I like
I
I
want
like
to
dominant
backtrack.
seventh chords. Nobody plays dominant seventh chords.
I
I,
want to backtrack for a second.
I like funk, man.
Yeah.
I don't like minor chords.
If you, what's your ideal like amount of work that you would do? If you had like let's just say hypothetically speaking that you can make six figures and work the amount you wanted to work with the musicians you wanted to work, what's your sweet spot
It,
artistically is what I'm asking.
I mean,
Couple times a week,
a little more than what I'm doing now, maybe, not because those guys like Coleman Hawkins, whoever those guys used to play 6 nights a week. It's no wonder that they died of alcohol. I mean, and drugs, man. There's a reason why, because it's like hard to be inspired
Yeah,
to,
no, I'm on the same page.
it's hard. It's like you start to like, you need some kind of stimulant, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, as it is, I still like smoke weed or whatever, but I have a regular gig that I just got, some small time restaurant gig every Saturday. See how long it lasts. See if that's a good amount. I don't know. I used to do every Wednesday at Fat Cat,
That
but
wasn't, I mean, I'm sure if you did, let's say if you did every night once a week there, and then maybe one other night a
I
week.
would rather do once a week somewhere else. I mean, that's like like that gig is weird, as you know. It's like nobody's there.
Wait, what place are you talking about?
Like ornithology got Cellar Dog, but ornithology it pays less, but I enjoy that one. That's
Yeah.
out in a Bushwick Brook. I mean, it's a lot of people play there now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but I have a particular new group that I actually like. So, it depends on who I'm playing with too. Like, but my new group is kind of nice. Like, um, I mean, you want me to mention who's in it?
Please.
Oh, well, the bass player I always play with is Reed Taylor. He's like super strong, you know, Tommy Potter sounding kind of bass player, Wilbur Ware, but real strong. And on guitar I have Loli De La Rosa, who is new to New York. She's from Puerto Rico, and she has a completely different outlook on how to play. Very spontaneous. And there's a drummer from Greece. Her name is Gary Kerkesu, and she's like, she plays everything is real kind of subdued, and my tunes with all the movement they have and all the harmonic complexity comes out really nice in that setting. And it's real spontaneous and real relaxed.
Yeah, do you
And
want
I
to?
actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear. I mean, like, but let's say you're doing that band particularly. I think you would do twice a week, probably. You know what I mean? What if it was 2 hours each
It's
time?
worth a try, man. We'll see. I'm very easily depressed with this shit.
This is
So
the world we live
we'll
in.
see. I
You
mean,
know,
what I'm
the
doing now is
absurdity of it,
of what?
the scene, the jazz world.
I mean, I could talk about that. It's
Well,
jazz
that'll
world.
be the second time we have another podcast, but you're
Okay.
not
I
the
mean,
only
it's
one who
pretty
feels that
wild
way.
now the way there's so many young people and so many young people who come out of college who actually have like they're like classical musicians. They have incredible technique, but there's really nothing to me, there's nothing new has happened since, 1972. If you lopped off the whole history of jazz, like since then, the history books would not suffer. There's nothing to me has happened. I mean, hopefully my little shit is a nice little footnote at some point, but
Well, we're still, that's the thing. I mean,
yeah,
it's
you
still
never
a
know.
baby. It's still a baby, but the music in general, it's still a baby.
Yeah, I mean, the guy at the height of Bach's period, the guy who wrote Fuchs or whatever his name was, wrote in his theory book, this is the worst time ever. Nothing
Here's
is
the
happening.
let me just say one thing really quickly
But
because it's like this. The jazz, the music that they made, you're talking about in the 70s.
I'm just talking about, well, I'll be more specific with
No,
what
but I'm saying it's like, let's say they were just all of those things like was just like a cake with all these different ingredients, you know? We have the ingredients to do the same thing today, but everyone wants to go forage for, stuff that won't even work with it. You know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah, but doing the same old shit doesn't work either, man. It's like jazz and like any like form of music in a golden age or whatever, it changed every 5 years. And that was one of the big things about it. That was one of its main ingredients was newness and change. But when it got to the bebop era, it hit the peak of of complexity and balance and everything. And yeah, it went, they got back to that era by necessity. And so I just go by a legitimate innovation. And what I call the latest legitimate new thing was what Miles did with like, tape loops, not tape loops, but using the studio as an instrument. That was new. Like Bitches Brew, it has all sorts of splices and they slapped it all together in the studio.
what about the
And
stuff
on
with
the
Bob
corner,
Berg, that period.
Miles with Bob. Is that
Yeah.
Bob Berg played with Miles? When did he play?
Um, with the band with John Schofield.
Oh no, I don't like any of that. I respect Miles, but
That
I, I,
wasn't your
I
thing.
saw him live. I saw them live at the time, but no, I'm not really impressed with any of that. The '80s is kind of, and I was there. It's not like, no, I don't think there's anything. I mean, you could prove me wrong in 1 second. You played me a record, I would, I've just never heard it. Like I was around in the '80s, like intimately involved with all those Wynton Marsalis things at the time. So I mean, it's like I was in New York since '83. So but to me, nothing was happening. I thought nothing was happening then, and I still think nothing's happening.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, as far as on a high artistic level.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you talk about this stuff because from the outside looking in, there's a lot of younger tenor saxophonists who are saying, "Oh, Ned's playing here and he's playing here. I want his life."
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good life, especially now. I just hooked up this apartment that's real cheap, because I'm 65, so I got this older people's apartment in the heart of Manhattan for cheap,
Oh, where
and
you living? What part?
in Norfolk Street down on Lower East Side,
Oh,
which
nice.
it's like equidistant to ornithology and Smalls or that area. And so I'm kind of set for life. So you know, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I wouldn't, if I hadn't moved from Pittsburgh to New York, I think I'd be in Pittsburgh, talking about it to this day. Well, this and that. So they should want my life, if that's what they want to do, but they shouldn't expect,
You
you
can't
know,
make a complete living that way if you're
well, I
just.
mean, they all seem to figure out how to do it. All these young people are still here and they're still, doing local gigs. So I can't figure out how they do it, but they teach lessons,
Yeah.
so they figure out a way. They live with people. I mean, is it better to live in a cheaper place and, not be in New York? People have to make up their own minds, I guess, but you know,
It's a crazy world in the music.
yeah,
Do you hear young saxophonists that you really like?
Um, I mean,
Like people have been in the, the scene the last, 10 years.
yeah, sure. I mean, they sound cool, you know. I hear people, but I don't hear anything. I don't really like jazz, first of all. You know,
Oh,
I don't really like the music itself. I'd rather hear, I don't even know what I'd rather hear, but it's just like I don't even like it that much because I hate the approach nowadays that, and it's in all kinds of like rap, everything, minor. Everything is minor. Like they've thrown the blues out the
you
window.
don't like minor.
No, I can't stand minor. I can't stand minor with a flat seven. I can't stand that. You know, if you do minor, have a five chord on it, like even that though,
Oh,
like
are you okay with a dominant chord playing minor over a dominant?
well, that's all it is. That's what blues is. But when you play minor, you remove that whole sound of the neutral third, of the major third and the minor third together. And it's just death.
You
And
like
so
Lou Donaldson? You must
yeah,
love
he's
Lou.
cool. He's cool. I mean, he's a good
That's the blues, the blues.
bird imitator. Yeah, he's cool. I prefer guitar players. I'll take, like T-Bone Walker or, like that kind of blues. Like in the 50s, the blues thing, like rock and roll records and rhythm and blues records always had a sax solo. The sax was the thing. Guitar players, even Jimi Hendrix said this, like they in the 50s, they were imitating sax players.
Hmm.
But if you listen to a record and there happens to be a guitar solo and he plays that note halfway between the four and the five, it's over. It's over. The sax players can all go sit down, man. It's over. It's just one note, wipes them all out. So so I'm not really, and I respect those blues guys back then. But Charlie Parker and Lester Young played blues like crazy, but they do it in a different kind of way. But I'm not a big fan of the major scale either. I don't really like the major scale. I think it doesn't work in jazz. I
What about the bebop scale? The
the bebop scale is different. The
major
major
bebop.
scale in bebop is made up of an arpeggio squeezed together. You know, it's like a dominant chord all the way up, to the 13. So if you squeeze that together, that's a scale. But the bebop guys put all sorts of chromatic notes in there. They weren't playing just that
Yeah.
shit is corny to
I was
me,
just
man.
telling a student of mine, like I was showing he only knew like the minor pentatonic scale on guitar. I'm
Well,
like, well,
that's
let me sh
cool in a
yeah.
way.
Well, I showed him the major scale, and I'm like, no, but you don't want to just run it up and down. That's not how you improvise. You're going to sound like, like you don't know what you're doing.
I mean, all sorts of jazz musicians do it, and like, it's just the whole thing, man, that came out of bebop that I don't really like. I like music that's not so serious, man. It's like I like upbeat music. I mean, Monk was never serious. His shit is always funky. That's what I like. And when
Wes was what, same way.
Wes,
Well, I'm talking, but not as serious. They're talking about he was a happy person. You know what I mean?
oh, I
Laughing
mean,
all the
I just
time.
like the funkiness.
Yeah.
And I just like the minor thing is real easy, like it's easy lyricism. It's real easy to get an emotion, not a good one, but an emotion out of minor. And to me, it's just
Do you
like
find minor
rinse and
sad or
grind.
happy?
Huh?
Do you find minor sad or happy?
Really sad.
Wow. I find minor happy.
Wow. I mean, I like minor when Bach does it.
Yeah.
When he does
Major makes me sad.
what? Well,
Major
I mean,
makes me.
straight major is really is horrible too. But but major is preferable because you can do
I'm
blues over
sorry.
major. So you got the third and the minor third together.
Mhm.
But minor, you can't put the major third over minor.
Oh
It
man.
doesn't work. Or maybe it does.
Oh,
But you know what I'm saying? It just like ruins everything. That's why
yeah.
like Coltrane, even though he's playing bang, that minor thing, he's playing the 4/7 chord a lot. So that's got that seventh sound in there because he's playing the four, and the
Oh
third.
yeah, 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 yeah. The
So
four.
it's like that's the funk. So that's cool. It's always the dominant
The
blues.
natural six.
like the American pop music is always based on like jazz is based on dominant up to a point. Like all those tunes from the 20s, it's around going around the cycle. They asked Dizzy Gillespie what bebop was about. He says it's about the cycle. It's always about the cycle, the dominant chords, and that's what it's about. And James Brown is based on a dominant chord. And the best hip hop is that funky sound. I mean, it might be like three different keys at the same time. It's a different kind of an attitude thing that minor doesn't have. And minor can be cool, I guess,
You could put the dominant over minor, the substitution.
but yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm easily convinced. If someone can do it, whatever. I'm all for it, man. I'm pulling for everybody, but
Now, Ned, I thank you so much for doing this. Can we do it again, but do just
yeah,
talk
sure.
about the scene?
I can run my mouth forever. Do it again, but what?
We'll just talk about the scene.
Sure. Whatever you want, man. I'm starved for attention. So so whatever you want to do.
I'd be like, hey,
I
let's
love
do
to run
it.
my mouth, huh?
Let's do it. I'd be like, let's do it every day. You'll be like, what time? No,
Like,
I'm just joking. I'm
okay. I
joking.
mean, I'm at work, so
I'm joking. I was just joking. No, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
let me know, bro. I'm there.